Okay, welcome to the Conscious Wellness Evolution. My name is Lindsay, and today's guest is Allison Biel. She is a hypnotherapist who specializes in introspective hypnosis, which includes past life regression, and she does remote sessions via the internet. So welcome to the podcast, Allison.
Hi, Lindsay, and hello to all your lovely viewers.
Hi, so I am so excited about this episode because I love hypnosis. I just find it so fascinating with my own experiences, especially past life regression. I think it is so fascinating for everybody who is interested in healing and spirituality, especially. And I really want to talk about what exactly it is and how it works. And I also want to talk about your practice and what you're doing and some of the experiences that you've had with your clients. But first, could you give me a brief introduction to what it is you do and your modality? And correct me if I have introduced you incorrectly.
No, perfect introduction. Thank you so much, Lindsay. So I am a hypnotherapist. So I do mainstream hypnotherapy as well. And then I do for me, regression is, it's the most fantastic way to get to the bottom of the problem. If you want to find out where the problem originated and started, regression is really fantastic for resolving those issues. So I specialize in past life regressions, specifically what's called introspective hypnosis. And I've got the honor and privilege to go on the most amazing journeys with my clients. So yeah, I call it the best job in the world.
Sounds so interesting.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what is the difference between introspective hypnosis and past life regression? Maybe we should start with, kind of an overview of what is past
life regression. Exactly. So let's go back in time a little bit. It's existed for ages where, people believe in reincarnation. And there are those of us that are able to naturally remember those. We get snippets of it. We may get those, that kind of information downloads in our sleep when we dream. And yeah, there are very few, but there are people who naturally remember. And then, of course, scientifically, they have done a lot of research into young children up to the age of 7, I think, where they naturally remember their past lives, which is fascinating, absolutely fascinating, to the point where they, some of them remember so much that they actually can pinpoint that life and where they lived, and they can go to the house where they lived, they find the family.
I've seen a documentary on that before. And you can find it on YouTube where it's like they interview, they follow this child around, and he goes to this town that he hasn't been to before, and he knows where everything is, and he knows the background stories. And it's like, how does this little kid who's like, I don't know, 5 or 7 know all this stuff?
Exactly. And this is where my sort of interest peaked, was with these children that remember. And then on my journey, I sort of knew of Dolores Cannon. And again, at the stage where I found out about her, I was like, I don't know about this stuff. I come from a Christian background, you see. So the first time I found out about Dolores, I was a bit like, I'm not sure about this. massively interesting.
I
But
agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know. So I know you. uh, there's several pioneers out there who specialize and know a lot about this. So I know you come from. You mentioned to me you come from the Brian Weiss side of
So,
things. So you know a
yeah.
lot about Brian Weiss. Yeah,
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 for people who aren't familiar with this, Brian
yes,
Weiss wrote a book called Many Lives, Many Masters. And
yes.
I read that, I don't know, 10 years ago. And it's so fascinating. It's about this, I think he's a psychiatrist, right? Started
That's
as a
right.
psychiatrist and
Hmm.
then started doing hypnosis on one of his patients and
Hmm.
taking, it just ended up going through past lives. And she started saying things about him that nobody else could have known. And,
Right.
talking about her past lives. And it was just such a fascinating book. I recommend everybody who is
Oh,
just
yeah.
beginning this journey to actually read that book.
That's a very good place to start. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Dolores Cannon, that came up
Yes.
later.
So
Tell me about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So then there's Brian Weiss. There's also Michael Newton, who has written Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. They are also really, really good information. So Michael Newton specializes in the moment where the person experiences the past life and then they move on from that past life. So he honed in on the information that he was getting from where the client moves into that, what we call the life between lives.
Okay.
So he calls it life between lives. So this is the period where we have that little period between where we reincarnate again
Okay.
and
Like a
we,
floating kind of like space where
yes, so
you're
we
not
go,
sure what life to jump into.
yes, thank you for bringing me back, Lindsay, because when I tend to explain all this to people, I very naughty. I don't always realize that they don't know a lot of this, and many people these days have questions. So it's really good that we start at the beginning, kind of thing. So yes, when we are a soul, which is energy, so it's sort of like a ball of energy, an orb, and it literally is basically down to energy. And so we plan this lifetime. So these periods between life, we spend time with our soul family,
Mhm.
and we plan the next life. So that's, and we recuperate
Mm.
from, especially if it's quite a traumatic lifetime, we can spend time resting and recuperating as well. So what he did was is he honed in on, like, what the clients are experiencing there. So if you read his Journey of Souls, it will tell you a lot of information about what happens in this period. So
Okay.
that's very interesting. Now, back to Dolores. Dolores Cannon is a pioneer in doing this work, this past life regression work. So, and I love that you said earlier about that, Brian Weiss found exactly the same situation where he was mainstream hypnotherapy, and a client went into a past life suddenly. So this is exactly what happened to Dolores.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
Accidentally found her way in.
yes, so that's how she found her way in. And the first, so she was doing a weight loss
Okay.
session with a lady, and this lady just suddenly went into a past life. And Dolores is very curious, and she's a bit of a historian at heart. So she did a lot of sessions and a lot of research. And I think at least 15 books that she's written. So again, if anyone's interested in this kind of thing, and in reincarnation and understanding the whole concept, Dolores and her books are extremely interesting as well.
Yeah, I haven't read any of her books, but I do know that like when I've seen some YouTube lectures and she talks about some things that themes that all of her patients kind of like seem to know the same thing, like, you know, what's happening with the evolution of humanity. And they're all kind of like saying the same thing, even though how could they know, you know, even from different backgrounds, why are they saying the same things about what's happening with humanity and like this kind of like evolution of consciousness? And the only logical conclusion after talking to this many people, or, you know, doing hypnosis on this many people, is that like they're channeling some kind of spirit, right?
Yeah. So my partner and I had a really deep conversation the other day about this, because he was interested in and he was questioning me, saying, so say for example, so we've got 3 states, right? We've got the beta, and then we've got the alpha, and then we've got the theta state. So when we do
like energetic kind of like brain waves, right?
Brain waves, yes, this is our brain waves. And so when we're in the beta, we are more like now conscious, and then the alpha is more relaxed. So maybe a light meditation, even if you're watching telly, you can go into that one. And for, you know, hypnosis, you know, it is very similar to, for example, you know, if you're driving somewhere every day, say, you know, work, and it's a Saturday and you're not working that day and you're driving somewhere other than work, but all of a sudden you've ended up at work and you're thinking, you know, and I don't know how many people that has happened to, not that specifically, but things like that, where you just automatically do something. So that is like you're in a different brainwave and relaxed, and the subconscious is starting to, you know, it's more not the conscious, but the subconscious that is, you know, doing the work.
Would you say that is kind of a semi-hypnotic state at that point?
Yeah, I definitely. Okay. Even watching telly, you know. And then you get the theta state, which is quite a lot deeper. And under that state, you get the somnambulistic, what they call somnambulistic. And this is where people don't remember a thing. They and a lot of Dolores's people that she worked with was, you know, able to go in this state. Now, not all of us are able to relax that much and go into, I've never experienced it, but there are people that can do that. And it's incredible when they do that, because they wake up, they don't remember anything, and they completely change personality. It's incredible to witness it. They change personality. They can speak in a different accent. And this is where, when they start asking you, like, so this is where my partner was saying to me the other day, so who do they think you are then when they're speaking to you, when they're in that deeper state and they've completely changed, you know, their personality and whatnot. So I was explaining to him that when this happens, it is for me, it is a sort of a channel, you know, we channel. So we with us, we connect with the subconscious, and that's pretty much our higher self. So we connect with our soul, and we're a fragment that came here to have an experience. So we connect with that, and we can also connect with our soul family and, you know, our guides. And yeah, so it's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I've seen some videos on YouTube where they are like they're recording. I think it's the woman that you mentioned, Alba Weinman, where she's recording
yes,
her sessions of people going into past life regressions, and they're just like they do seem like they're in a different state, and they're like saying things that kind of come from different, you know, I guess entities or whatever. And then they're also answering questions about, you know, I guess, and maybe you can like talk a little bit about that, like how the therapeutic, I don't know, applications of past life regression and how that works with being in this like state of past life regression.
yeah. So the therapeutic side of things, basically, we learn so much from the past lives. There's many, you know, things that become clear to us, you know, when we go into these past lives, and we see how they impact this life. Yeah, this lifetime. So that's where the therapeutic side of things come in. Yeah, so clients that do come see me usually are quite spiritual, and they want to find out a bit more about themselves. And then, you know, you have clients that are interested in knowing, you know, whether they have a connection with a lifetime in Egypt, for example, or, you know, whether they were someone famous in a past life, a king or a queen. And then you have clients that, you know, come and they're poorly and they've got a lot of health problems. And they, you know, I've had cancer patients come, and, you know, some, you know, get healing, and others are, they, I had one specific, really heart-rendering one where, you know, I had to bite back the tears whilst I was doing this. Such a beautiful, beautiful person and soul, you know, and so poorly, and not wanting to go through this, you know, like none of us would. And just my heart broke. And I took him through a few past lives, and they explained to him that he's going through this for a reason, and it's part of what he planned, and that he appreciates life, but because of what's going to happen to him, he's going to appreciate life so much more. And that was the lesson he wanted. And he's going to help so many other people through it as well. And there's so many people that love him and see him go through this. So he's being a blessing to others, you know, being so brave and going through this positively. And he got such peace and calm, you know, for knowing, you know, that this is the way to go. And also medically, he wanted to know, should I stay, you know, traditional, homeopathic, you know, herbal way, or do I go through the mainstream, you know, and have the operation and the chemo and all these things? And yeah, they said to him, you are in very, very good hands. Go get the help that you need. So yeah, it's just amazing. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, and what other reasons do people come? People sometimes feel that, you know, there's a connection somehow with the past, and they're intrigued by it. Okay. Yeah, and then there are others that they feel a presence with them, Yeah, so we've all had these supernatural experiences from, from time to time. Well, a lot of us, and a lot of clients, have had perhaps an experience with a guide or an angel, guardian angel, or something like that is looking after them. And then, they just want to know more and make a connection and find out more about what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're the ones that have had an experience with, but it's not a guide or an angel. It's more a not so nice, entity that visits, and they want to try and, find out what that is and clear that up. So, that those are, attachments that happen. So
How did they know
they
that they
also
have,
consume.
sorry, how did
Well,
they know they have an attachment or
yeah,
some kind of negative energy?
they literally feel a presence with them. Yeah, yeah. A recent lady that I've had an attachment, and she said to me, it's the presence she felt, and there's like a pressing on her chest. She felt like a pressing on her chest. So yeah, and then when we had the session, yeah, true, absolutely. When, towards the end of the session, when I was asking, the presence was sort of, yeah, because I ask, where is that energy sitting? So what it is they don't attach to this body, but they attach to our, like our etheric body. And he came, the energy came up, and had a completely different accent. She had a completely different accent. He was a New York mobster.
Okay.
Yeah, from a long time ago. And he had a completely different accent, and he was quite feisty. And yeah, it was very interesting talking to him. And basically what I do is, we treat them with utmost respect, and we help them go to the light. So they are nothing other than, just like you and me. They had a lifetime, they passed away, and they got lost and confused. They were scared of being judged. Now, I always explain, to them, there is, because of all this work that I was talking about, the life between life work, and knowing source, is love and light. And knowing that we plan this life, and we come to experience things, there is no judgment. So but because we've been so conditioned, all these years, that there's this massive judgment, and God is a God of wrath and that sort of thing. People are, when they pass away and they've done terrible things in that lifetime, they are afraid to move on. There's the ones that don't want to leave the family, especially if the family is there and there's children and they're crying and they don't want to let go and they're worried. They have unfinished business sometimes, which they just have unfinished business that they want to finish, and they miss that opportunity to go to the light, all of them. And then there's the ones that, just don't want to go to the light, enjoy it, the ride, and attached to similar people. So I often find, if it was a smoker, I ask them, why did you choose this, my client? Why did you choose them? And they will say to me, oh, I chose this person because they smoke. And I used to smoke. So like for like, or, I've had one where he's a very healthy one. So my client is he loves jogging. So, He attached because he likes that he's a jogger and he jogs. And so those ones who attach like with the smoking and that sort of thing, you can imagine they have a bit of an effect on us. Now, it's only as much as we allow them. We obviously have free will. They can't really, hurt us, but they can impact us. So they can impact in the sense that, it'll make you want to smoke more because he wants to smoke. So if you're trying to stop smoking, they will want you not to stop smoking. So they'll make it more difficult for you to stop smoking. So this is where, that comes in. Yeah.
And that's
super interesting, huh?
Really helpful if you are, a lot of people come into regular hypnotherapy for like stopping smoking or something like that. And then I can see
now it's not, see there, it's not always that there's an attachment. And I have to say, with the many clients that come to me, the attachments are usually sitting there really ready to go, because they like the person is now very spiritual. Okay. And it's really boring for them because there's no fun in it, and the person has stopped smoking, or just it's boring for them, and the person has changed, so they just want to leave, so they feel like they're stuck. And so sometimes when I get there and I'm like, would you like to go to, even before I finish my sentence, would you like me to help you today to move on to the line? They go, yeah, just get me out of here.
Well, that's good that it's not
character, some of them.
Sounds like an easy thing. All right, you're free.
Yeah. Oh, and for me, it's just the most amazing thing. Just think, this was a soul that was just lost, and they've now moved on to the light. They've gone back, they've gone home, to their soul family and to source. So it's just an honor, to help them. So, yeah.
And then the client feels better, or relief, or more energy, or
yes. Yes, absolutely. They feel massive release from that energy leaving. Sometimes the energy could be causing an ailment. So for example, if they are sat in your shoulder, you could be having a sore shoulder, and once they move on, the shoulder immediately starts feeling better. So, yeah, but it isn't always, like I say, it can be many different things. The shoulder could be, so if someone comes and sees me with a sore shoulder, so it could be an attachment. It could be something that happened to the person in a past life that, needs to be healed, or it's just plain and simple, they've hurt themselves, and there is no, nothing to it from a past life or an attachment aspect. But I have to say, you said something a little bit earlier that I wanted to share with you. Okay. So you were saying that they find so many similar things. So yeah, so through all the sessions that, it's incredible that they find the same themes over and over again. And so a theme that comes up, and this is a book called Soul Speak, and this is written by Julia Cannon. This is Dolores' daughter.
Okay.
And so the Soul Speak is about all the sessions that Dolores did and the common themes that they got. But the common themes are to do with how our body talks to us. And if we have disease, which if you think about that word, dis-ease, it's dis-ease. So she's gone through, and there's a index at the back where you can go, okay,
looking up different diseases?
So different illnesses. So fibroid tumors, and then you can go to that page and they can tell you, you know, on that page what it is normally that causes it. So for example, when she looked at cancer, she often found that a lot of her cancer patients, it's anger towards something that was sat in the body. So, and again, it's not the same for everybody, but it's very interesting to go through and look at the different ailments and, you know, that you can have in the body and what she connected it to from the past lives, where several people have had the same thing. And
so she's looking at themes of different clients and seeing like what are the commonalities that they have.
So for example, the cancer, she had many clients with cancer, and when she got to the bottom and the root cause, it was anger that was causing that. So, you know, and it isn't always with all cancer patients, but this is the common theme there. So she's done it with many different ailments, you know, you know, she's got all the ailments here, what it means, back problems, all sorts of things, and what the sort of, you know, what she got to the bottom of why that is happening to the client. So very interesting, very interesting.
It sounds very similar to Louise Hay's work. Have you compared Louise Hay, like, what is it, heal your body or something like that, where she kind of went through her clients?
That's incredible that you said that, because when I recommend this to my clients, I always say to people, this is very similar to Louise Hay's work. Yeah, exactly.
But it looks like it's a much bigger book and has more detail. So would it be more helpful? I'm very curious because, you know,
it isn't
more about what you can do.
It's not very expensive at all. And it's actually quite, look at that, it's actually quite, you know, compact. And she talks about the whole chakra system as well, and the endocrine system, very, very interesting, the reproductive system. She goes through all of that, you know, so it's very, very interesting. I find it very helpful, you know, when, you know, a client says to me, you know, this is up, then, you know, it could potentially be that. So I have a quick squiz. And for myself, I do it all the time. If something comes up, I'm like, oh, what is it I need? And usually it is, what is it I need to work on?
Yeah. Do you ever do past life regressions on yourself to find out if there's something like that you're carrying in a past life?
Absolutely. I have the privilege of, you know, I did an introspective hypnosis course, and I have a lot of ladies that have done the course with me that, you know, I've made friends with. So when something comes up, we help each other and we do sessions. So yeah, I've had that happen. I've just recently had a back problem, and when I went into getting to the bottom of it, it was a lifetime where I was stabbed in the back.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I have to admit, so let's go back first and talk about the difference, because you asked about how it works, and then the differences between like the introspective and the past life regression. So Dolores started this work, and when I got interested, like I say, I found her and then was like, oh, I'm not so sure about this. And then time went by, and I then got interested in this again. And I was looking at like I say, the young children. And then all of a sudden, Alba Weinman came up as I was researching this. She popped up in my YouTube recommended page. I started listening to her channel, and the first session that I listened to, completely, my life hasn't been the same since I watched that session. It completely shifted me, changed my life completely.
Huh.
Yeah.
Which session was this, or what do you think it was just
Yeah, so
synchronistic that you found the right one?
yeah, it was just the first session that I watched. It was a Greek lady. It was called something about the DNA download.
Huh.
Yeah, it's something. Her Alba numbers her sessions, and
Okay.
then there's a usually a little sentence about what the session was about, and she said something about DNA download, and I don't know what it was. It was I related to this lady, and this is what you find. You often, when you people who are able to, put the sessions out there, who do this work, you often find when you listen to the session that it's relevant to you as well, and you're learning from this. So that's what happened to me. And then also at this very same time, I knew nothing of this world, reincarnation, how it worked, what it involved. And it was as if that something the information just downloaded, and it was like I was awoken, and all this made sense. It just fell into place and it made sense. And yeah, then I spent every opportunity I had, to listen to her videos. And yeah, they're incredible. And then I had such a calling, felt such a calling to do this work as well. And Alba does these days that she does sessions, but she also does days where you can spend a day with her, it's sort of a workshop, and you can, she does group regressions. And I believe you've had a group regression as well, haven't you, Lindsay?
I have. I've had an
Yeah.
in-person group regression, and I also did a regression that I found on YouTube from Brian Weiss that was recommended on TikTok. So apparently that's going viral right now, and I did that.
It's incredible. He is so popular on TikTok amongst the young people. Lots of people interested in this topic now. It's so exciting. Yeah. So back to Alba. I did a day with her and experienced my very first regression. And oh, it was so exciting. And I saw several lives. And the group regressions are not the same as an individual regression, because what happens is you can ask the questions, but when you're navigating one-to-one with the client, you can get much deeper and you can explore a lot more, because the client's giving you information. But with a group regression, everybody's just sort of, you ask the questions and you sort of keep it, in your mind. You're experiencing it in your mind. But with the one-to-one, you'll be telling me what you're experiencing, and then I can get more information to dig a little deeper and to explore a little more. So that's why the one-to-one is a bit different to the group one. But I have to say, if you are interested in this and you're thinking about having a past life regression, a group regression, or like you say, one of these, Alba has one on her channel. Like you say, Brian Weiss has a very good one on YouTube. And you can just go in the comfort of your own home, on your bed, just have a lie down and see what comes up. A lot of people get quite a bit from doing those as well. Yeah. And it gives you, the more you do it, the more you see.
That's what Brian Weiss said in his online hypnosis session. He
Really?
said the more you practice, the easier it gets to kind of remember details and to go deeper. And I did look for Alba Weinman's
Yes.
group, or group regression, or I guess individual like self-regression online, but I couldn't find it. So maybe I'll look for it again and
Yeah, so if you search
details.
Alba Weinman meditation, it'll
Meditation.
come up with a meditation. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I think so. I think so.
So do
Yeah.
you go deeper when you do it a one-to-one? Because you mentioned earlier that if you go into a theta state, it's a very deep level, and you won't be, you won't remember everything. So it wouldn't be as helpful if you're just doing it on your own, right? So I mean, I'm assuming that maybe you can go deeper when you're one-to-one and have these experiences where you're channeling other entities to the point where you
Yes.
don't even remember. But when you get it
Yes.
on video, you can play it
Yeah.
back and be like, oh, interesting.
Yes, yes. So I record my sessions and people can listen back to their sessions, which is quite helpful, at times for them. So yeah, no, back to your question about, I think the one-to-one, definitely you're probably a bit more relaxed. And yeah, a bit deeper, because you're getting individual attention as well. One thing I will say is expectations. So, and this goes back to what I always say, and I sound like a broken record, but basically you've got to, have realistic expectations if you're going to be doing this.
What do you mean by that?
We're,
Realistic?
well, basically, we're not all the same, and we're not all going to go into that theta, somnambulistic state, and we don't need to be to do the work that we need to do on ourselves. So say, for example, I had a client that she had great difficulty relaxing. People who are quite analytical, they struggle to relax. So yeah, so she went to just a state of, well, she's a rock. So we've been all kinds of things in the past, and it was, she regressed back to beginning of time, like the beginning of Earth forming, and she was a rock. And then she was in a volcano, and then the volcano erupted, so she melted, and then she was smoke, and she sort of evaporated. And so, as you can imagine, and this is what Dolores spoke about this, and this was the first time I experienced it in a session, and Dolores spoke about this, and she was saying her client, when they experienced the lifetime, she asked them about, being a rock, and they were just like, it's just very slow. You can imagine there's nothing happening, absolutely, but everything has everything has consciousness. So we sort of contemplated on that, and not a lot happened in the session. And because I'm really care about my clients, we did another session, and I said to her, I don't want you to not just experience that. And the next time she was able to relax a lot more, and with a few nifty navigation skills that I have, I was able to get her to see some past lives, and we had quite a nice, long, interesting session, which she learned a lot from. So we have to sort of those expectations, of, oh, I'm going to experience a lifetime as Queen Elizabeth, or something like that, is not always the case. So we're what it is we're able to have access to the Akashic records, which is everything that's ever happened to you and will happen to you, all that information. So we have access to that, and a lot of people, when they see the Akashic record, see it as a library. And to me, that's a fantastic analogy for this, what we do, because can you imagine you're entering this big library and you're now having a past life regression, and there's just books wall to wall, everywhere is books, and you don't know where to begin.
Different
So,
lifetimes.
yes. So this is where our higher self and our guides come in, and they say, "Ooh, look at this one and look at this one." And they will give you what you need for your highest good on that day. So I'm always like, incredibly at peace with whatever transpires, because I know they are getting whatever it is they need for their highest good on the day. And I completely trust that, So, but no, people aren't always happy with that. They want more, and they can't always reveal everything to us. So we're able to ask our questions as well and get answers on many things, and people get fantastic answers. And sometimes there's just a case of, can't know that, because you planned and this lifetime, and if they all of a sudden give you information, then that will interfere with the lesson that you were supposed to learn, or whatever is supposed to transpire in this lifetime. So they can't spoil it for you, so they're unable to tell you this information. So yeah.
So is there something to learn and integrate from that too? Because I wanted to, this just triggered a memory where I did have an Akashic reading like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was so, it was disappointing really, because there was nothing interesting about this lifetime that he was talking about. It was, I couldn't take any like insight or lesson from it. It was like nothing happened in this life. It was just kind of a boring life or something. And I was like, I was even trying to figure out how to, get insight from just that. Like, maybe there's something to learn from, I don't know. I didn't know what to take away from it. And it was kind of like baffling, like, well, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Do you ever help people kind of try to find the insight if the insight is not immediately obvious?
Yeah. We have our nifty ways of navigating that to try and find out, what the lesson is there, So yeah. It's and sometimes the answer is just no, we can't, we can't give you the information today. So like I say, with her, that's what she needed on that day. And then another day she got lots of different kind of information. So, and again, the more you do it, the more you tend to receive. I do something before I start my sessions with my clients called the lemon exercise, so that I can explain and show them exactly how we use all our senses when this is happening. So different people experience it differently. So we could have images. We could get like hear something, or it could be images. It could be that you smell something. Various different people get various different, ways of accessing this, information. Yeah.
So is this exercise a way to tune in to like maybe the more subtler pieces of information that they would?
It's just to show clients how it works using the senses.
Okay.
So yeah. I plan on doing a little video about it and putting it on my website to show clients. So it literally is showing you, when you do the lemon, and how you get the lemon and you cut it up and then you taste it. And, if you close your eyes and you imagine it, it's almost like it's real, because you've done it before, kind of thing. And all that information is there. It's in your subconscious, you just need to tap into it. Yeah.
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 Do
Yeah.
people ever get like some kind of healing, even if they haven't learned like I'm wondering, it seems obvious if you get some kind of insight that you can have some healing consciously, but is there ever a time when you do some kind of past life regression or something like that, and it doesn't seem like it's not necessarily just from the insight, but something just clears up just having experienced the past life, or is it usually like an entity that has
No. It is once you've learned what you needed to learn, it can clear up. Yeah. Sometimes it does, and other times it doesn't. We're all different. So it's all to do with what we plan. So if that is still part of your journey, like my gentleman with the cancer, then it's not, gonna magically just disappear. But there are many that come for sessions and they get the healing, because, this happened, and perhaps, they're able to. So we make contracts before we come, and I always explain it to my clients that you can imagine yourself sitting around that table with your guides planning this lifetime. And so, you choose what, your family you're going to have, and, what you're going to look like, and all this kind of thing. So, it's just incredible. So yeah, we choose that. So if we've chosen it, it is I've learned that the hard way, and it's something I've learned from doing this work. I am an empath, and so I like, that I feel what other people are feeling, and I am so passionate. And I had to learn the hard way, that, you've got to let people experience what they need to experience. You can't interfere, and we've all, chosen these things. So, and sometimes the lifetime is hard. So another person that does this work is called Robert Schwartz. He's your soul's gift, Robert Schwartz. He has also got a YouTube channel. So if anyone's interested in specifically, say for example, you don't understand why you've had to go through what you've had to go through. So, there are a lot of people that experience very traumatic lives. And his work is fantastic in the sense that he tries and explains why it is that we go through the things that we go through. And this is where, going back to the planning the life. So for example, say for example, we ask for more wisdom, then, well, how do you get more wisdom? You only get that by getting problems to solve. So you'll get a lot of problems to solve. If you ask for courage, then you'll be faced with lots of dangerous situations, So say, for example, you want to work on forgiveness, and you decide you're coming into this lifetime. So you'll plan around that. And you may plan and go to another soul and say, okay, so can you then be my wife in this lifetime and cheat on me so that I can experience learning forgiveness? Do you see? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's like a soul mission, and you're going
it's
to
like
have to
school.
go through hard things to learn the lesson.
Exactly. It's like school. So what this is just a suit it's not actually us, it is an experience that the soul is having. And, if you look at it from a bigger perspective, we plan, these things, and in no way, shape or form am I trying to take away from the horrific things that people experience, but, that this is what I'm saying. We can't interfere with the journey that we planned. Now, the other reason we do this is Aaron Epker explains this really well. He's got a interesting YouTube channel, and he knows a lot about the law of one. And
I've seen his channel.
So you know about, exactly. So he explains the law of one really well, about how the consciousness works and how the soul experiences. So, we're going back to that, experiencing being a rock, and then you may experience being a tree, and then evolve and you experience being an animal, and then you're human. You know what I mean?
Higher
So
consciousness.
Higher and higher consciousness. And so we also have these different levels that the soul goes. So it's just like school. So we jump levels, and the heart of the soul wants to grow and wants to, be loved and to help others. And so, once we've achieved our objective, we are then guides for others to help them through their journey. So once we achieve certain, levels, so it's beautiful how it all works. So it's all, for a purpose in the end.
Yeah. I feel like this would be very helpful for people who are in this state of resistance about something difficult in their life and not able to accept a difficult situation, which is creating resistance and more suffering for them. And I've been in that part of my life where it's like, how can I accept this? This is so difficult. This is so, miserable. And getting that insight of like, this is your soul's mission, and that would just kind of really help to accept and release that resistance that is causing maybe the situation to even perpetuate, right? Because of that resistance.
And I see that in my sessions, and it's just beautiful when that happens, when you can see they get that aha moment, and then like that, that peace and joy that comes over them, yeah, absolutely. It is definitely another reason, people have sessions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another reason people have sessions, speaking of which, is connecting with their loved ones who passed away, and you're not able to say goodbye. I've experienced that. So for me, a part of my journey and what brought me here in my dark night of the soul was, in 2013, my mum passed away. And it was very, very tough for me. We were very, very close. And so one of the first full-on sessions I had, which was one-to-one, full-on session, I was able to, say goodbye. I was able to, experience her in previous lifetimes. She was in previous lifetimes. So what we do in the sessions, there's connections. So another thing that happens in these sessions, by the way, is people have say family or someone difficult in your life, and you don't understand why this person is in your life and why they're making your life so difficult. Right. And so often in the sessions, the dots connects. And when people go into a lifetime, so for example, this is one of the things I was speaking about earlier. When you have the one-to-one session, you can dig deeper. So I will say, when I make that connection and someone else, so they're experiencing a past lifetime and there's others around.
Okay.
They can tell me about these others that are around and who they are and what they do. I can say the window to the soul is the eyes. Look into the eyes and tell me, do you recognize this person? No, not again. Everybody's not the same. Often they will say no, but often they will say, oh, that's my sister in this lifetime, or my mother in that lifetime. So they'll recognize the person in the past lifetime. And that's where a lot of healing comes from as well.
Is it because they're exploring the dynamic from like kind of a different
Exactly.
perspective?
Exactly. So for example, they could have had problems in a past lifetime, and then, you know, they decided to rectify the problems in this lifetime between them and go. The other thing that happens, speaking of these lessons, what we've also learned is if you don't learn the lessons in this lifetime that you need to learn, that's fine, that's okay, you're not getting judged. But what happens is you still need to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
So you will experience it in the next lifetime and the one after that, but you're still coming back to learn that lesson again. So it's best to, you know, my tip is, learn the lesson in this lifetime.
Right.
You don't want to come back into it again.
Right. And that's where the past life regression comes into you know, help, because it helps you learn what is this lesson, be very clear on what the lesson is, right?
Yes. And we've been so conditioned. So we when these adversities come, we ask, why me? It's the first thing we ask. Or we feel we've been punished for something, we've done something wrong, we feel God is wrathful and he's punishing us, all these different kind of things. And it is not that. The question we need to ask is, why is this challenge come across my path, and what do I need to learn from it? And also a you know, a perspective of victimhood. So being in the why is this happening to me, that's the victim speaking, you know. But if we are asking rather out of a heart of gratefulness, say, well, what do I need to learn from this? You know, that takes you out of that victimhood state, and you can go through that process a lot easier, you know, than what you would if your perspective was one of victimhood, if you see what I mean. And it's not easy. We all struggle. I struggle. And it's a conscious decision you have to make every single day. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you the difference between past life regression, which is a lot of what we've been talking about because it is the most, you know, well-known, I think, form of this kind of spiritual form of hypnosis. But you not only do past life regression, but you also specialize in introspective hypnosis. And I don't know what that is. So what is the difference?
So introspective, basically, going back to Dolores, because we got a bit sidetracked there, didn't we? So going back to Dolores, Dolores started when she realized that this is so fascinated. She became, you know, interested, and she started, you know, exploring, and she developed her own technique, which is called quantum healing hypnosis technique, and QHHT for short. Now, Alba, who we were talking about earlier, and her friend Antonio Sangio were in Dolores' second last class that she ever taught. And they had, you know, the honor of being in her second last class, and they always, you know, reminisce about that, the two of them. So after years of practicing QHHT themselves, they learned a lot going along the way and developed their own, and you know, techniques, and learned. And also Antonio Sangio has someone that he admires, that he learned a lot from, called Aurelio Mia. And so he worked with Aurelio for quite a bit, and they developed this technique called introspective hypnosis. And I had the privilege of being in class with Antonio and Alba for this introspective hypnosis training. Antonio is a gifted teacher, a wonderful mentor. I still mentor with him to this day. I've literally just done a new course. He's growing and learning all the time. So he's teaching a new course called Past Life Therapy. So yeah.
As opposed to past life regression.
As opposed to past life regression. So that's
what would be the difference?
That's a topic all on its own, and I can talk for hours about that. So past life therapy is where the regression is more of a journey that you take, and you do, like I've been explaining, you know, with the regression and the introspective specifically, you know, we go a bit deeper and we try and get to the origin of, you know, so we ask about the symptoms beforehand and we get to the origin, and, you know, the people learn what the purpose of that lifetime is and how it's impacted this lifetime. Healing takes place. You have that time in between lives. The past life therapy is completely different. The past life therapy is looking at the symptom, and it's quite full on work, and it's to do with working with that shadow self.
So it's shadow work.
Massive, huge shadow work. And basically it is, we're all clearing up, you know, and moving and ascending, you know, ourselves individually and as a collective. And basically, you know, people at the moment are clearing out the things that need clearing out from these past lives. And it could be, literally could be the way that you've died, you know, that could come up, and a symptom. So remember earlier I spoke about the back, and someone stuck me from behind with a sword, and I didn't die immediately, but it got infected and I died later on.
Oh, wow.
In that lifetime. So this is why I say this isn't for the faint-hearted, but it's when you really, really want to do that work on yourself, you know, and it is incredible. I can't tell you enough how the way you've died in past lives, how it impacts this lifetime, because the soul hasn't had the chance to process. So a part of you is still there and trapped.
Wow.
Yeah. And so and if you don't go back and go and heal that, who is going to do it if not you? You know, no one else is going to do it for you, you know. So you don't have all your energy with you. Your part of you is still in that situation because you haven't processed it. An example is, for example, we spoke about this earlier when you and I spoke about this. Say, for example, you were a healer in a past life, and all of a sudden you're accused of being a witch, or you were a witch. I mean, not all witches were, you know, evil witches. They were good witches doing good deeds, and all of a sudden you're accused, and they take you and they throw you in jail, and the next day, you know, they pull you out and you know, they're going to burn you on the stake, and all these people are yelling at you. So what do you think you're going through in those last moments? You're worried about your family that you're leaving behind. Who's going to take care of your children, perhaps? You know, these people are yelling at me. Why? I haven't done anything wrong. You know, and then, you know, that horrific way that you die. and how you all these other things going through your mind, so you don't get a chance to actually process that death. And so,
You carry it into this lifetime.
yeah, it can carry into the symptoms, carry into this lifetime. And so it could be, for example, throat problems, if you were hung before, something as simple as that, burned at the stake. Could be respiratory problems, could be skin problems, anything like that. So it gets incredibly interesting, the way that you've died in past lives, and the healing that comes from, going through that. So we've learned in this course how to deal with every different death, drowning, all the different ways that you dying from hunger or freezing to death, because you just fall asleep, don't you? You don't really process what's happening to you. You just suddenly died. So what happens to the soul? The soul's all confused, and don't know what happened. So,
and if you were a healer, does it like make you kind of reticent to, in this lifetime, you don't want to embrace your gift?
Good question. Last thoughts. So this is where we, big one is asking for the last thoughts before people pass away, because there are mandates and people make promises or decide things that impact this lifetime. So for example, you could say, well, I will never help anybody if this is the way they're treating me. I won't heal again. So you don't embrace that in this lifetime. So there's blockages that happen, So yeah, spot on. Those things that we decide, at the end, you could curse those people, and so we take them through the whole process, and we have them talk to those people and tell them what they think and how they feel, so they can get that off their chest. And so, yeah, it's an incredible work.
Yeah, I can see how that would lead to, like, in the, days and weeks following that, just like a lot of energy lifted out, like, kind of stuck energy lifted out of your system. So,
yes. Yeah.
Wow. So the difference between, I see the difference between past life regression and past life therapy. And what about introspective hypnosis?
Yeah, so with the introspective, it's very similar, but again, we try and, work on those unresolved issues. And also introspective is one of the few that deal with the entities that we were speaking about earlier.
Stuck entities, or,
stuck entities. Yeah, not many people deal with that kind of thing. And people feel, it's something to be scared of, or, it's something horrible. And it literally is, souls that are lost, and we treat them with utmost respect, and we try and find out what happened, why they attached, and then we help them to the light. And like I say, with spiritual people, they're normally quite eager to get out of there. Yeah, so if you're interested in any of this work, Antonio's written several books, and the latest one is a lot about that, and it's called The Symptoms of the Soul, and he's called Antonio Sangio, and he's also got a YouTube channel, so it's well worth checking him out. He's written My Soul's Purpose and Guiding Lost Souls, so there's a lot of information about lost souls in there, in that one. So yeah, all very highly recommended. Yeah,
I'll definitely link all of these books and people's channels below, so that people know where to kind of get more information.
That would be brilliant.
Yeah. Have you come across any like really standout, interesting anecdotes of like different clients that you've had? Any interesting stories that we haven't? I mean, so many interesting stories already, but anything that we
Yes, we've had interesting stories. So just to go back to, you're quite interested in a recurring theme that goes through, and I'll tell you a few that have just stood out in the sense that they've made this so you know, real for me, that I'm like, you can't make this up. So for example, I've had two very different clients, and they don't know of each other, and they've both explained to me that, and they both had a very traumatic lifetime, and these are introspective sessions, and they had a very traumatic lifetime. So in this work, we sort of do 3 different past lives, and when they die in the past life is when they move into the life between life, where we can connect with the family and the loved ones, and they can ask their questions, and then at the end we deal with, you know, a scan to see if there's energetically anything there that, you know, is a lost soul. So anyway, they were in the life between life part, and they both described exactly the same thing to me about after a traumatic life, they went to, they described it as a hospital, but not like our hospitals. It's just like a spiritual hospital. And they described this cocoon that they could go into and go for healing in there. So yeah, they both described that. And yeah, when I was speaking about the life between life work before, I've heard of this before, that the souls go for a rest, but I didn't know that, you know, they actually have like a cocoon that they go in for healing and rest. And, you know, isn't that beautiful? And they both described exactly the same thing to me. So it was just amazing. And yeah, I've had incredible sessions where, you know, there's been dragons. I have a client.
How did that come up?
Well, the client was a dragon in a previous lifetime, and described it. So I just went on this journey where she describes where she's flying and what she sees, you know. So yeah, beautiful session. And then client who is a fractal of the soul, was Thoth at one stage. So he's a fractal of that soul that was Thoth at one stage, and now he's this, you know, in this lifetime he's someone completely different, but he connected to Thoth, and it was very powerful. We went to the halls of Amente in Egypt, and then Anubis came in as well to do like some download, and the energy that comes in when this happens, I can't describe it to you. So Dolores had, in those days when she did it, she had a tape recorder. And she used to tape record these sessions, and she used to have 2 because one would just blow out. She talk about that energy, and on this, and on this day specifically, I could literally feel, you know, the energy, and there was like electricity running up and down my back when Anubis was doing that work. And Thoth, you can feel his energy as well when he comes in. And we had another session together, and the next time Thoth came in, he knows I'm tickled pink by a comedy show, and in this comedy show, it's called a German comedy thing called Allo Allo, and there's a Frenchman that comes in, and he always, every time he comes in a scene in this comedy show, he says, "It is I, Leclerc," and it tickles me pink. And so when we had a session, Thoth, the next time he comes in, he says to me, "It is I." And he knew that would tickle me pink.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Aww.
And then another client was telling me about this castle in the Netherlands. And I was like, oh, interesting. And he was telling me his name, a female name. And I'm not going to give too much information away because, you know, it is about real people in this lifetime. So I can't say too much, but he gave me the female name, and he gave me the name of the castle. And it was completely about something else that he needed to learn for his highest good. But he was a female, and he gave me her name. And it wasn't until a few days after the session I started doing a bit of research. I was like, does this castle exist? Let me check. Somewhere in the Netherlands. So I checked, and the castle's there, but it's really small and a really obscure. It's not a famous thing at all.
Okay.
And so where would he have come up with that, you know? And then I looked at the time frame. He gave me the time frame. And so I looked at the time frame and the family name, the surname of the family that lived there. And then I sort of searched the surname of the family and to see. And then this countess with her name and the family name came up. She's living today, and she's a descendant all the way living now of that, you know, that time. That is just, to me, incredible, you know, incredible. So yeah, no, those are just a few. I mean, I've got so many stories. Can talk all day.
Yeah, I mean, it is such an interesting topic, and definitely, like, it's obvious, like, your energy is just infectious, like you talking about it, because you're so passionate about it, and I'm actually very interested in too. It's hard not to be interested in this. It's just like there's so many. It's like you know, it's fascinating and magical, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, magical is the word.
Yeah. Yeah. So for people who are interested in past life regression or introspective hypnosis, both of which what you do, and you also do regular hypnotherapy, what kind of offerings and services do you have, and where can people find you? And yeah, what are you working on? What can people look for you?
Yeah, so basically I do hypnotherapy. I have a website, allisonbiel.co.uk, and I'll pass those details on to you, Lindsay. And then, yeah, I do a
Posting them
variety.
below.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then yeah, so normal hypnotherapy services, and then also the past life regression, so the introspective hypnosis I offer. And then for my American clients, because of the exchange rate and that sort of thing, I always try and do a special so that they don't have to pay more than people from the UK, and I do specials from time to time. So that's pretty much it. And like I say, I'm at the moment working on, so it's not on my website yet. I literally recently finished the course, but I do these past life therapy sessions as well. And there'll be very shortly some information on that on my website. And that will be a bit cheaper because a past life regression can be anything from 2 to 4 hours. So they tend to be a bit more expensive, but the past life therapy sessions is an hour, hour and a half. Yeah, so they tend to be quite quick. So they will be a bit cheaper. So, and I have a YouTube channel with lots of information. My website also has a lot of information on there. By the way, on my website is a lot of information about famous people who have used hypnotherapy to help with their ailments or anything that they wanted to work on, and also some that actually have dug into past life and had regressions as well. So yeah, so check it out. There's lots of information on there, and my YouTube channel also has a lot of information about normal hypnotherapy and the past life regressions. I also have a few meditations on there, and interviews that I've done that explains a bit more. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. This has been so fascinating. So many interesting stories. And thank you
Oh,
so much for talking on this channel about everything that you do and all your experiences. And I just find past life regression so interesting. I know a lot of people do too in the spiritual field. So this has been very interesting.
oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed having a chat with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. I'll see you next time.
See you soon. Bye.